Hello, everybody, and welcome to William Steele True Crime Podcast, True Crime Channel against all social media platforms. I thank you, my fans that have been following me from my fan pages and fan groups from the Inmate to Roommate show. Again, I always try to give thanks where it's due. Thank you to A&E Network for allowing me the opportunity to participate in the show. I'm very humbled, and I recognize that it's helped me to to gain some fans, for the things I've been wanting to do anyway since before I got out of prison. So thank you, Sharp Entertainment, my producer, Joe Ruzer, Emmy nominated, phenomenal producer.
Nice.
I'm not allowed to talk about anything that may or may not be coming up. All I know is we got 11 million views on TikTok, and the thing just came out a few months ago. So you do the math, Anyway, so we continue to do inspirational stories, true crime. Now we're going to delve with a famous guest of mine, Ignacio Esteban. He's been in federal law enforcement for 26 years. He's written, I think, 60 books.
That's right.
Including ATF Undercover, about his career in ATF and different cases he worked on and or has intimate knowledge of. So Ignacio is back today. He's also quite the tennis expert, but another thing, he's really, really loves politics. And he's very, very well-versed, well-read, well-studied on politics. And he has some unique insights you've never heard before on now. President Biden, we all know, is unfortunately, I pray for the man, and nobody likes to see anybody decline publicly, especially, but he's going through some sort of mental decline. It's pretty obvious to the whole world. The Democrats are even starting to realize, Democrats that I even know personally. So he did a State of the Union address last night, and we're going to have Ignacio give some commentary on that. And the fact that the spy balloon that came around this week also was allowed to fulfill its mission before Biden ever gave an order to shoot it down, or whoever gave the ultimate order. But there's something's really shady going on here. And we might like to invite Ignacio. Ignacio, say hello to my audience.
Yeah, Bill, man.
Thank you for coming back. We appreciate you.
Oh, I love it, man. I think we've done like 6, 7, 8 shows already. It's fantastic. And it's such a variety of topics, and enjoys it. And we'll do a little bit commentary here on Biden and the State of the Union. It was difficult to watch. I watched the whole thing last night. It was over an hour. It's funny. It was comical. I had to say it. You had Kevin McCarthy, who was sitting behind him, right? He's the Speaker of the House. You have the Vice President, which is sitting on his left side, if you're looking right at him, which is Kamala Harris. And he will sit, she will stand. He will stand, she will sit. Right? Up, down, sometimes clapping, no clapping. I mean, and then he has the audacity in the middle of his speech to accuse the Republicans of wanting to cut Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, right? And that was nonsense. And McCarthy is nodding his head. He says, that's not happening. What's he talking about? And then some of the Republicans will call him a liar. So you're calling him, you're a liar. You can see this on video. If you want to see this, go check this out. Right. They're yelling at him, you're a liar. You're a liar. What's her, Marjorie Taylor Greene? I know she's a little controversial. She has her issues out in Georgia, but she was very vocal. Good for her. I don't like some of the conspiracy stuff she talks about, but at least she was vocal enough to call them out that said Republicans weren't trying to do it. That's really, problem for Republicans if they're trying to convince the elderly and the retirees that we're trying to take Social Security. I mean, we all paid into Social Security. I mean, we pay now for those who are on it. So hopefully when it's our turn, we have it. But, we've all paid our money for it. And a lot of people need Social Security entitlements to live their lives. So you take that away from them. Wow, that's really, really can cause Republicans some heartburn, some problems.
When we get into political issues, as you know, my friend / mentor / attorney, Peter Tickton, was on my show.
Yeah.
And he's representing Donald Trump in some litigation. He's friends with Donald Trump. He went to the military academy, Donald Trump. And he said one little sentence that got my YouTube channel suspended. So I have to take their advice, because YouTube runs the show here, not me, and say that, your opinions are not the opinions of William Steele True Crime Channel.
Right.
Your opinions are not necessarily the opinions of YouTube. And I might share my personal opinion on something. And I was trying to steer away from things that I'm starting to learn are too controversial, just to maintain my channel, because I'm trying to grow it. And YouTube guys, I'm trying to do the right thing here. So Just
And,
bear
and,
with me.
in my opinion, it's all factually based. I don't dive into any conspiracy theories or thinking that this was stolen or this was taken or about the virus. Now, this is all about facts that's going on, and then it's based on what I see and my predictions. What's going to happen.
Go for it. Knock it out of the park for us, because you're federal law enforcement. As far as I'm concerned, you know what's going on. What
Yeah.
happened?
My prediction is still like that book about Joe Biden, one and done. I don't see him winning in 2024. Obviously, the horrible exit. He didn't talk about that in the State of the Union, did he?
He didn't
This
speak
is what
on what? He didn't speak
he
on what?
cherry picked everything he wanted to talk about, and he left out the biggest problems he had: the disaster. And look at the disaster in Afghanistan. Those poor people are being destroyed by the Taliban right now. Women are being returned back to where they used to. They had 20 years of living under where women will be able to get education, where minorities, other ethnic minorities, were able to prosper, well, do things. That is gone. The Taliban is going back to their old ways of controlling and destroying, and going back to their ways of their interpretation of Islam, which is not the interpretation many people have of the Muslim religion. It's more a perverse way of their interpretation. Then, of course, Victor Bout. We've talked about that in another show. We've talked about the merchant of death, right? With the Lord of War himself, a man who should never seen the light of day, has got traded for Brittany Griner. My goodness, the worst trade, the worst prisoner exchange in U.S. history. A woman was okay. She's a good basketball player. She was set up. She had a little bit of the oil hashish. She should never got 9 years. Putin played Biden to the and pulled Paul Whelan, who's a former Marine, who's sitting there 4 years and trumped up espionage, is still sitting there, and now people have forgotten about Mr. Whelan himself, and his family is suffering in there. I mean, these things he doesn't talk about. And now what does Victor Bout do? He now joined an extreme right-wing party. He's running for office, and he said in an interview with Maria Butina, who herself was a prisoner here for espionage, an unregistered Russian agent who infiltrated the NRA and other gun groups, saying he told her when his first interview says that I told Putin I would have invaded earlier Ukraine because Zelensky and these guys got too strong. If you want to do this, when you took Crimea in 2014, you should have finished the job in 2014 before these guys, because you had a puppet in there before. You would have taken over the country like you wanted. This is what you're looking at.
The puppet guy, the guy that was given some kind of poison that popped up his face really bad. Was that the guy?
That's another guy. He just, because he has control. He has people who were puppets there. But Zelensky was not that kind of guy. Zelensky was not that kind of guy. Yeah, he was an actor, but we had some good president actors too. We had Ronald Reagan, right? He was also an actor. He did pretty well for our country. He helped bring down the Soviet Union, right? Strong in defense. Zelensky is also strong in defense. He helped build it up. And now the U.S., yes, costs a lot of money, but you know what? They've been a sovereign nation for 30 years, right? And they deserve their freedom. No discussion about that, right? So he just cherry picks what he liked about the whole thing. I felt like he struggled a bit. He got a lot of pushback by the Republicans, which was fantastic, and not one discussion about his relationship with Hunter Biden, China, and the spy balloon gate that's going on here. And why I call it's not Watergate, it's spy balloon gate, because anytime there's a scandal, you add gate to it, it's a scandal. Why was it allowed to go from Alaska all the way through Canada, Montana, the Midwest, out through the Carolinas, and then they finally shot it down? Why didn't they shoot down Alaska? Why wasn't they shut down Alaska? Why wasn't the president, allegedly he said he wasn't briefed about it? Well, I doubt that. And what are they doing about the one that's going around South America? So this is not the first time they've done this, and they're continuing to push the envelope.
I saw the track of that thing, and it went right down the edge of Canada, Alaska, into the United States, and then it specifically went to somehow, I think it's controllable. Went over military nuclear silos, before it traversed the rest of the United States, and then they shot it down right off the coast in shallow water,
South Carolina. Yeah,
and then I heard, like, the next couple of stories were they have found that there was explosives on it, and I don't believe necessarily they would have dropped on anything, but maybe they could detonate that thing from altitude, and so nobody can retrieve it.
We need a full investigation, obviously, from DOJ, from Congress, and then accountability with Xi Jinping. At least, it's bad enough with the virus that came out of there, right? That caused over 1 million deaths in the United States and tens of millions around the world, right? Now they're doing this. The CCP, and I wrote books about this, last year, right? Or before that, about the Xi Jinping. He's a genocidal dictator. You know, he's destroyed the ethnic Muslims. If you're not hung, ethnic minority, ethnic, then he doesn't care for you, right? He doesn't care for women. He treats women as property. They want to control. You know, they don't want the gays community. They don't like anything that does not conform with the CCP. If you want freedom and democracy, look at Hong Kong. Look at other cities, shut down, Shanghai. But, you know, I'm glad you saw it in Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, other cities. They were chanting, "She must go," down with the CCP when they had it with the lockdowns. These absolutely 2 weeks ago, you look at the videos online, what happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
Unprecedented to see this. Was a nationwide, and I think it scared them that we have crossed the line and people have had it. And you know what? I hope we see a free democratic China. Ever since Mao Zedong took over in the 45, after that, they have destroyed that country. And just like Putin has destroyed Russia, that's the biggest problems we have in our country. That danger, they want to destroy us so they can take over the world. We got to stop them. Democracy has to prevail with these nations. We are resilient people.
Yeah, it's incredible the decline that we're in, was just like overnight with the switch from one political party to another. I'm astounded that things were so. You might not like Trump personally. Some people don't like him as personal choice, his way of speaking. You know, many people can say he's his own worst enemy. But, you know, that being said, it's been clear that they repeatedly tried to set him up with fake impeachments and all this other nonsense. But he was phenomenal as a president. And now we have a guy in there that's reversed everything and plunged this country into a disaster.
Yeah.
And, you know,
if Trump doesn't have the numbers, which I don't think he does, I think DeSantis, I know you're not a big fan of DeSantis, but I think Ron DeSantis, it was a big red wave in Florida. He crushed it. He kept the economy open. Marco Rubio, red. I mean, it was a huge red wave in Florida. So people really, and people in the Northeast who left are happy in Florida because they can function. They have no state income tax. They can have their businesses operating. It is a different world in Florida. Virginia is changing. We have a governor that's a Republican here. So it's becoming stronger, very pro-business. You need to have states that are very pro-business, that protects the people, and you have to have your Second Amendment rights protected. And he mentioned also to renew the assault weapons ban. Unbelievable. He was in the Senate in the 90s. He was there during the Clinton administration. The guy's been in the Senate since the 70s, so people know.
Right.
He is the longest politician ever, I think. They're saying, because his career has evolved so long. And he said it. He's, I think, the longest ever. It's a disaster because there's so many workarounds. First of all, you have the pre-bans. They'll still be legal. So you make them illegal, but all the ones that before would be legal, right?
Grandfathered in, basically.
Grandfathered in. Or, and then if you want to buy an assault rifle, well, very easily. You get rid of the pistol grip. You get rid of the collapsible stock. You put a regular stock in that's not collapsible with a thumb grip in there. So you don't have a pistol grip anymore. And well, there we go. And then you have a magazine that takes less than 10 rounds in there. Well, then you go. You worked around the definition of assault rifle.
Right. So that's your statement as an ATF retired agent of how that can be accomplished.
And that's what people did in the 90s. That's what they did in the 90s. That's what I saw.
For the record, I want to say, make sure that I don't have any problems with YouTube, that William Steele True Crime and myself, we're not deliberately trying to put any information out there that would help somebody circumvent any kind of ban.
And it has
what my channel's about.
And that's the key. We don't want that ban because it doesn't work. That's the history. You have to learn from history, because history ends up repeating itself. And we have to learn that because you know what? Bad people, and I've been in my books and cases, will always get firearms, right, Bill? They'll find ways to get it. They'll steal it. They find it. And who gets victimized? Us. The people get victimized. So this is typical Democratic stuff that you see where they think guns are bad. No, guns are good. It's what's between the ears. You have to be careful. People with mental health issues, people who are criminals. That's what the problem is, not the weapons. The weapons are here with good people. A good guy with a gun can always stop a bad guy with a gun. But the worst thing is having bad guys with guns, with good people with no guns. And you say, "Yeah, I wish I had my gun," because then it's bad news.
Yeah,
very bad news.
A friend of ours, Susie Hott, Susie Q, she her friend was murdered allegedly by a cartel member here last year. The person went on trial, beat the case. There's allegations of corruption all throughout, and possibly jury tampering and payoffs. Leaving court, she's with a famous retired U.S. Marshal and judge, and he provided security for her. But when they left the courthouse, his gun was locked up in the back of the vehicle. He did not take it to rearm himself driving away from the courthouse, and the cartel members surrounded their vehicle and tried to get to her in the seat, but it was too many people around, and we're trying to figure out. And she had laid down in the back seat. This is last week in Texas. So this man would have had his gun, and he was very trained with it. It would have probably ended differently, or at least they would have got out of there and felt a little more protected. But, I guess I asked, why didn't he have his gun on him? That's what he went for, to protect you, because you couldn't bring it in the courthouse, and he figured they'll jump in the truck and just leave. Now, never dreaming, a few blocks from the courthouse, they'd be encountering cartel members, whatever you call them from Mexico.
I think I would take my time, especially if you're doing that kind of work. Take the time and get the gun on you, just in case.
Of course, because you're right near the courthouse with other security and cameras right there.
Especially if you're paid security to protect, you got to have your weapon on you.
I believe he just did it more as a friend. They've known each other all their life. She's inherited the Steiner fortune, which was Buck Steiner invented all these saddles back in the day, and so she became one of the people that inherited. She was a good friend of Buck Steiner's, so she's very well known. And she had to sell her ranch and move hundreds of miles away, because the cartel told her they own the ranch. They're killing people. It's just a shame what she's going through. We're going to be telling her story soon. I want to know this. What do you think about all these top secret documents? Okay, Trump had them. My understanding is, hang on. My understanding is the Presidential Records Act allows him to have them still, even after he's out of office. He's the only person exempt from the possession thing. Yeah. Yet all of a sudden they're finding ones in Joe Biden's garage that God knows if they have Biden, his son's fingerprints. Maybe he was selling to China out of Biden's garage. We don't know. Because it was
I heard some of these were from the time when he was vice president and senator.
So therefore, because he was never president during those times, that's major felonies, possession of these classified and top secret material after, and they're not in the right location.
And Mike Pence also had some in his house.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So these guys need to get a lot better on it with, classified information. They need to do a better job. Their team failed them. I mean, they have a team that's looking for that stuff. And he said the box was sealed. He never touched it. He didn't know about it. It was during the move. And he said, well, I mean, I understand that. And he's the one that asked for it. So Pence, I think, is a different situation. But Biden, you keep on finding it all over, different places. His residence, his apartment, this other location over here where he has his business, his office. I mean,
they found on that computer that with all the porn on the drug use and hookers, they found some emails on there. And one of them, they say, almost precisely tracks the language of a top secret document that Hunter Biden would have not known unless he read the document. And he was writing it to somebody, I forget who, and it virtually identically tracked the language.
Let's see if Hunter, if he gets indicted out of Delaware for quite a few violations. I mean, obviously he was a drug user. He bought a firearm at an FFL in Delaware. He lied about his drug use, but at the same time, you can see his drug use. So that's a felony there, lying on ATF 4473 form, being a liar. So I've done cases where
you broke up a little bit.
Get a gun. So let's see what happened to Hunter.
You did cases where you broke up a little bit.
Yeah, well, people are, when you go to a FFL, a federal firearms licensee, you got to fill out the ATF form, federal firearms transaction form, and you got to be truthful. You can't lie about your background. You can't lie about your drug use. You can't lie about your mental health issues. People do all the time. And lying on a form to get cleared to get your weapon, it's a federal felony. And I've also done cases like that, people lying in those forms also. So Hunter appears what's out there, that he had drug use. He admitted crack user, admitted cocaine and whatever other vices he had, right? And he said, am I a current drug user? No. Well, obviously the laptop shows otherwise, right? And in the same time period.
Now, I was a law clerk in prison. I know everything except for, I think, murder has a statute of limitations. In the federal system, I don't know so much. Are these things that if they just run the clock out, well, I signed for that gun, 3 years ago, statute of limitations 2 years.
There could be statute of course. But this happened more recently. This happened all this whole time here. So I'm not sure if it's within, I think it's within 5 years. I'm not sure if it's still within the clock or not, but those are things he did. So people can know, he has issues, right? And another issue was he an unregistered agent, when he went out to China or Ukraine? Why was he given these kind of positions when the guy has no background with oil companies and nothing like that, but because of his dad's access to his father, just like his brother, Biden's brother, was also involved in a lot of this stuff too. So the Biden family.
That was the guy that was attorney general.
I'm not sure if it was attorney general, but he was part of his law firm when he had.
They had one that became attorney general something of Delaware. and that was one of the sons. He died of a brain cancer or something.
That's the one. That's Bo. Yeah, that's Bo.
And then I think it was Hunter who ended up marrying or dating the deceased guy's wife, his own brother's wife.
Yeah, he has a history of problems. His brother has a history of problems. That's all out there. You can research and see. I'll be curious to see where it is. United States. I heard the grand jury had convened. The evidence is being presented. We'll see if it goes forward or not. That's that's politics. That's the beast we live in.
It's a given. I don't know if you can confirm or deny this, but it's pretty well understood that all these documents taken out of Biden's homes and garage. I mean, before he was president, there was no Secret Service security. So a guy like me, who I was a burglar before, I could have went in and saw those. Wow, I got some top secret documents.
That's scary. That's scary.
I could have held them hostage, and then I get in trouble. I just
or some people think maybe other family members, possibly Hunter and others, made copies and provided to the Chinese for more payment.
They said that the Chinese had it rented in a storage unit, a bunch of stuff in storage, in the same storage unit where Hunter had rented a unit for no real purpose. In other words, they're thinking the meetings were held in the storage facility when he was meeting with the handlers from China. That's the speculation that's out there. But I know they're going to be looking for DNA and fingerprints on all those documents. Anybody who's touched them who doesn't have clearance is in a world of shit and has a bunch of explaining to do.
So folks, those are things to look at. See some of the highlights of the Union. See the hypocrisy that was there. Look about our gun rights. Assault weapon ban will not work, does not help. There's workarounds. Bad guys will always have the weapons they need. Republicans are not trying to get rid of Social Security or Medicare. It's just it's a circus, it's a show, and it shows why people are getting tired of it. And it's going to be a change in 2024. Joe Biden, One and Done, is a good political book. I also did 2 other books recently on biker wars. I do a lot of stuff on the one percenters, which is very interesting. Some of the worst biker battles we've seen in the last 40 years. And also did interesting. I do sports also. I was an athlete myself. I played collegiately, #1 for my university with tennis. I love sports. I did some boxing also. I enjoy it. Hector Macho Camacho, his tragic life of Hector Macho Camacho. Tragic ending. He was killed down, gunned down in Bayamon, Puerto Rico 10 years ago. Just recently, 10 years now, they finally made some arrests on that horrific murder with him and his friend. He had an addiction to cocaine for many, many years that impacted him. His friend that was also gunned down, he had like 9 bags of cocaine with him. So that was an issue he had with him, is dealing with those demons he had inside him, for sure. Well documented, good reads. And I'm hoping to have my books on Audible, especially ATF Undercover, dealing with my life, dealing with repeat violent offenders, dealing with gang members, armed drug dealers, armed home invaders, armed international firearms traffickers, domestic firearms traffickers, murder for hire cases. All that's in there. The good, the bad, and the ugly of ATF, and solutions, some of the problems we have dealing with firearms trafficking, gun violence, and mass shootings. So that's a good read, and it'll be an Audible soon. So if you don't read a lot, the Audible book is going to be done with a professional. Shout out to Sean Milo. Great job with him. We're working that project. I think it'll be well received.
Excellent. Listen, for my audience and my fans, Ignacio is just out of ATF about a year now, retired. 60 books. Okay. Many of them he gives away free. And then, the other ones, he's got
very reasonable. Very reasonable.
So I wrote some books in prison and coming out of prison. Check out our books, but especially Ignacio's. Go to the links in the descriptions. They're all going to be there. If you like this show,
all my books are free for Kindle Unlimited subscribers. So go to Amazon. If you're Kindle Unlimited subscribers, you can read all my books for free.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ignacio, thank you so much for coming back to William Steele True Crime. And we look forward to having you back here real soon, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely, brother. All right, be safe. Take care, guys.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
This is William Steele. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your support. Please remember, hit the like and subscribe button now.